Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Steel City. This is your cruise director, Kristen, and this is the Galleria at Pittsburgh Mills in Tarentum, Pennsylvania. We visited this mall the first time in September 2018, and it was only our 7th video. At the time, I forecasted this mall was on its way to a sort of comeback. Unfortunately, 2 years and a global pandemic later, I was wrong. The occupancy has slid from 55% to around 20%. They've lost 2 anchors, and things are looking grim. I was here on a Friday afternoon as JCPenney's going out of business sale was drawing to a close, and that seemed to be the biggest source of traffic. Everyone loves those 90% off Arizona jeans. It was also unseasonably hot for October, and it was at least 80 degrees in the mall. I don't think they turn on the air conditioning anymore, which is one of the 4 horsemen of the mallpocalypse. Pittsburgh Mills gets a lot of flack for being garish, and now after having seen St. Louis Mills, this looks much more understated. There's no circus of fire here. In a way, this mall, with its muted floral prints and pearlescent light fixtures, is like the difference between going from the cute and colorful kids department to the adult section, where they tell you that beige and rhinestones is fun and fancy and whimsical, and you, a teenager, are asking yourself who thinks anything beige is fun. The Mills Cardboard and Drywall Committee decided to exercise some restraint, and the results are just okay. It's not terrible, it's just alright. This is a supersized episode, by the way, because this mall is supersized. It's over 2 million square feet on a single level, more than double the footprint of most malls I visit, and 750,000 square feet bigger than the fallen local behemoth that is Century 3. Especially with it being nearly empty, these corridors feel like they go on forever. So, in order to dissect where we are, we need to go over how we got here. The plans for a mall began all the way back in 1981 when Zamaya Services announced plans to build a mall in Tarentum called Fraser Galleria. In 1986, with ground still unbroken, the Mills Corporation joined the project, and the scope of construction went from build a mall to build a shopping, dining, and entertainment complex. Between 1986 and 2003, issues with infrastructure that included the building of an entire new highway exit, logistical issues because the plot of land straddled 2 municipalities, and the overall scope of the project continuing to expand, kept the mall from being fully realized. Ground was broken in 2003 finally to begin building the mall, and on July 14, 2005, the Galleria at Pittsburgh Mills celebrated its grand opening. Most of Mills malls were centered around an outlet/value concept that offered discounted merchandise that couldn't be had elsewhere. When Pittsburgh Mills was being developed, a new outlet mall was already slated to open around the same time in Pittsburgh, so they went with a more traditional mall lineup with JCPenney and Kaufmann's, along with the first Sears Grand location east of the Mississippi. Just as an aside, I want to point out for those who have never been here that the entire outdoor complex that includes a big box strip center across the street is what comprises Pittsburgh Mills, and the proper name of the mall itself is the Galleria at Pittsburgh Mills. However, for brevity, I'm just going to refer to the mall as Pittsburgh Mills. In 2005 at opening, the over 200 retail spaces were only 80% occupied and was one of only 5 new malls that opened nationwide that year. Even in 2005, there were economic reports indicating that mall traffic had fallen 20 to 30% over a decade prior. In Pittsburgh, a city already full of malls, potentially already too many, the intended regional draw of a new Mills Mall advertising fun for the entire family fell flat. They hoped that it would draw shoppers from as far away as Indiana. Not Indiana, Pennsylvania, mind you, but the state of Indiana, where they'd have to drive past an already failing Mills property in Cincinnati to see their new faltering offering. They were prepared for a deluge of shoppers that simply never arrived. Plans for things like a NASCAR Speed Park go-kart track never materialized. Now, just for fun, try to say NASCAR Speed Park go-kart track 5 times fast. An editorial from around the time the mall opened that appeared in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette suggested that the location, on a state highway far from where out-of-towners were likely to travel, was less than ideal, and perhaps a location off I-279 would yield better results. Throughout the editorial, the author states over and over, "But I'm just a writer. These guys are richer and smarter than me, and they know what they're doing." Right? Did they? Hindsight is 20/20, but you can't help but ask what made them think that dropping a massive new mall in the middle of a field in an already saturated market was a good idea, especially when mall traffic was already down nationwide. The Mills Corporation called their large entertainment complex malls their landmark collection, of which they built 17. Of those 17, only 3 are dismal failures, and hint, hint, I've covered all 3. This was the last landmark Mills mall to be built by the intact original Mills Corporation. By 2006, the fate of the Mills Corporation was written on the wall. They were being investigated by the SEC for overstating their earnings in their annual reports and had sunk over $2 billion into what was then known as Meadowlands Xanadu in New Jersey, a mall that began being built in 2004 after a decade of red tape and was sold off to 555 Entertainment, the owners of the Mall of America. It finally opened in 2019 as the American Dream Mall, a mall that a little over a year into its life was recently quoted as being only 20% leased. As a result of its financial problems, the Mills Corporation divested themselves from Pittsburgh Mills, turning over its shares to Zamias Services and a German investment firm who helped fund the project. At the time of the management change, the mall was valued at $190 million, less than it cost to build, and still hovered around 80% occupancy. In 2010, it was announced that Great Wolf Lodge, the water park hotel chain, was in talks to open a location on the Mills complex. But this doesn't appear to have ever gotten beyond talks. By this point, the idea that Pittsburgh Mills was going to be a multi-state tourist attraction was all but over, and they began courting less conventional tenants such as ITT Technical Institute, who opened a campus in the mall in 2010 that operated until 2016, when the entire chain of for-profit colleges closed. The financial crisis of the late aughts was also unkind to Pittsburgh Mills' tenant lineup. As a result of a wave of bankruptcies between 2008 and 2012, the mall lost Linens and Things and Borders, among others. H&M also closed its doors sometime around 2010, because the last time I see it mentioned in ads for the mall was in late 2009. By 2012, Pittsburgh Mills occupancy was 55%, a figure that would remain accurate through 2018 when I came here the first time. On a lighter note, an 18-month-old teenage bear strolled into Sears in 2012 and hung out for a few hours. He or she was removed by animal control and released back into the wild. No word on whether he later returned to get himself the new pair of tough skins he came in looking for in the first place. Sears Grand closed its doors in 2015. They were a concept that was essentially the product of the merger with Kmart to bring more general merchandise into their department stores, to offer everything a Sears and a Kmart could offer together, and it was a failed experiment. It is my opinion that the name of the store was a big part of the problem. Let's face it, when you're trying to convey an image of quality merchandise at great prices, including a word in the name of your store that is also used to refer to $1,000 may not be the greatest move. You kinda have to imagine the sort of jokes that got made. They call it Sears Grand because every time I go in there, that's how much I spend. You know what a Sears Grand is at Walmart? $800. Sears Plus, Sears 360, Sears Premium Value. Any of these would have been a better option than Sears $1,000. That sound you hear in the background is your wallet groaning. All of these problems eventually led to Zamias defaulting on their $143 million mortgage on the mall, which was returned to the lender Wells Fargo in 2015. Pittsburgh Mills was placed for auction in 2017, and it was widely publicized that it sold for $100, which is technically true. Wells Fargo placed the mall up for auction, and the single winning bid for $100 was by Wells Fargo. So really what happened is that the mall was placed up for auction and no one bid on it, so Wells Fargo retained ownership and listed the mall in the open market. They placed Jones Lang LaSalle in charge of everyday operations at the property and attempted to revitalize it as best they could to entice interest from an actual buyer. Plans that included the opening of a banquet center and an under-21 nightclub were stalled and never materialized due to difficulties obtaining licenses and permits. In May 2018, the mall was purchased for $12 million by the prolific mall holding company Namdar. I'm deliberately choosing the word holding company because I can't call you a developer if you aren't improving anything. They have been pretty open in interviews that they like to buy malls that are in foreclosure, hold on to them for a couple years, and then try to sell them for more than they paid for them, and that's pretty much it. You're not seeing a lot of decay in this property because it's only 15 years old, but look around you at how many stores have closed since earlier videos. In fact, go back and watch Dan Bell's because it's the earliest one I know of, and it was doing okay back then. Not great, but okay. But now, there's nothing in the food court at all. The movie theater is closed, JCPenney is closing, and I'm calling it now. If Macy's pulls out, they're done for, especially with owners who have no interest in doing anything but waiting for real estate prices to increase, so they can sell it off to become another Amazon distribution center. It's probably worth pointing out here that Namdar also owns St. Louis Mills, and we all know what happened there. Regardless, if you're from around here, I know these places hold a lot of memories for people, even if they were never a blockbuster success story. Maybe you had your first date with your husband or wife here. Maybe you worked here in high school or remember bringing your kids to see Santa, and that is why I do what I do. It's not about saving the malls. It's about telling their story and preserving the memories that were made here. I'm not sure at this point some of them can be saved. We have a greater ability to document things before they're gone than ever before, and we should. Speaking of memories, I thought it would be nice to say goodbye to an old friend before I headed back home. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave us a like and subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos from our channel. A very special thank you to Eva, Dean, and all of our patrons for making this and other episodes possible. We're proud members of the Dead Malls of Discord family, and you can join us on Discord to chat by using the link in the description. As always, I'm your cruise director, Kristen, and this is UniComm Productions. We'll see you next time.